Editor-in-Chief is live in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, welcome to the program, folks. It is September the 10th. You're with the Editor-in-Chief live with Lester's Oil, your multi-ingredient omega-3 healthy aging supplement, backed by thousands and thousands of satisfied customers. Get the benefits of 6 supplements in one capsule to support joint, heart and brain health. Take as directed. Read the label. About Health Auckland. I'm Duncan, Garner, folks. Welcome to the program. Sorry, we're a bit late this morning. A few minutes. Might people talk to their people. We've got a few technical issues, but we nailed it. Great to have your company this morning. Welcome. You can leave a message on YouTube or TikTok. It's all there. All details are there. Today, why can't we get tourism back on track post-COVID? So what do the numbers look like? What do the numbers tell us? We'll look at this, and why are we struggling to get people back into New Zealand? What's going on? Brad Olsen will join me. He's from Infometrics. He'll tell us what's going on. Also, former warrior, Wairangi Koopu, Celebrity Treasure Island, has kicked off, and he's our captain. He's the captain of one of the teams. So we'll have a chat to him about why on earth is he doing it? Why are we doing this? Let's ask the question. Also, today it's controversial, but do our teenagers just need to harden up? Resilience, they're over it. Harden up. It's news time. Here's MediaWorks Deputy News Editor. It is Grace Cocker. A very good morning.
Frustrated Woolworths workers are striking across the country. Thousands are walking off the job for 2 hours from midday. First Union's Rudd Hughes says they're simply fed up.
These people have been through a cost of living crisis, which they're still going through, and they're not getting a decent wage offer from one of the most profitable companies in the country.
And around 130 Pacific radiology health workers will also walk off the job. They're striking over regional pay disparities after negotiating for 10 months. There are concerns Mpox could be silently spreading in the wake of Queenstown's Winter Pride Festival. One new case has been confirmed with likely links to last month's gathering. New figures released to MediaWorks shows Aucklanders are having to foot a large bill when it comes to illegal rubbish dumping. Council's Justine Haves says it costs an extra $500,000 over the last 5 years.
Unfortunately, the funding to deal with illegal dumping comes essentially from rates. So ratepayers in Auckland are contributing to this cost.
Australia plans to block kids from social media until a certain age. The national ban's aimed at addressing growing concerns about the harm it's doing to their emotional and mental health. No minimum age has yet been announced, but Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has previously backed moves to lift it from 13 to 16. In sport and in rugby league with Machinery House, Bulldogs wing Josh Adokar has failed a roadside drugs test for cocaine. GM of the NRL club, Phil Gould's waiting for the results of the second sample.
And we'll just have to see how it plays out. But Josh vehemently defends himself that there shouldn't be drugs in his system.
The sun was out, but there's no play on the opening day of the one-off Test cricket between the Black Caps and Afghanistan. The outfield was deemed too wet following several days of rain on the outskirts of Delhi in India. Orient Express are the first team to be knocked out of the America's Cup Challenger Series. The French syndicate were outclassed by Ineos Britannia to finish last after the round-robin series with just one win. Team New Zealand comfortably beat American Magic. That's news and sport.
Good stuff, thanks, Grace. So the Aussies are looking at raising the age of when teenagers can hit social media.
How would you monitor that? That would be difficult, right? Because kids have their own phones, iPads. If kids want to be sneaky, they'll be sneaky.
So 13 is currently, and what, they want to raise it to 16?
To 16.
Yeah.
I remember when social first came out, I remember it was MySpace and Bebo. And we got those banned at school. Yeah, see, it was so old. But they got those, it was before Facebook, and they were banned at our high school. We couldn't access them on the computers.
Yeah. I know.
First MySpace, then Bebo, then Facebook.
The school my son's at, they've all the games, all the apps, everything's gone. Everything's been wiped. 16, I don't think, you need a policeman in every house.
Yeah, I don't know how you would monitor that, but I mean...
Parents do soft.
Especially when you talk about the resilience thing,
I'll tell you more about that shortly, but yeah. Good on you, Grace. Good to see you.
Duncan, Garner, live.
Okay, so tourism numbers yet to fully rebound following, of course, the COVID lockdown, the extensive COVID lockdowns in New Zealand. And what hasn't helped, of course, is the international slowdown, the economic collapse, of course. But tourism numbers in some other countries are doing okay. But here in New Zealand, we never fully recovered. And in some parts of our tourism sector, it's been a real struggle. Many say our strategy isn't right and we're losing out to other countries. What do the numbers tell us? What needs to happen? Brad Olsen is with Infometrics and he joins us now. G'day, Brad. Nice to see you.
Good morning.
Yeah, this just paints a real picture, doesn't it? Because we were doing so well, especially in some of the Chinese market and that sort of thing. Everyone was pouring into New Zealand pre-COVID, weren't they?
Well, yeah, we did have a really strong tourism offering, and I think we've still got one now. It's hard, right? The rest of the world has gone through this big inflationary hit. They've gone through this big level of interest rate increases. Funnily enough, when they're looking out at their spending, travel is not the biggest thing on their priority list. And when they are travelling, they're probably a little bit more budget conscious than before. And of course, coming down to New Zealand has always been an expensive endeavour. So little bit tricky, I think, given what you're seeing out there in the global economy. Still encouraging, though. I mean, New Zealand's, the number of arrivals into New Zealand of foreign tourists over the last 12 months has averaged about 83% of sort of the same time in 2019. So, I mean, that's not a bad set of recovery that we've seen come through. It's just that it has been a much slower slog the last sort of couple of, almost in the last year, really, where we just haven't seen it bounce too much above that 80% mark. And I think it really does reiterate that, again, it's going to take a while for this to recover. The real challenge for tourism operators is that they could operate with lower international tourists when Kiwis were doing so much domestic travel. It's just that at the moment, of course, those higher interest rates means that us Kiwis are doing less domestic travel. Tourism internationally hasn't quite got back to normal, and so we are feeling the pinch a bit more at the moment.
Yeah, well said. Well, nice and clear, because what you did see during that COVID period was when you could travel, people did. And either side of the lockdowns, people were really getting out and about and sort of making New Zealand the destination, because that's all you could really do. So it was sort of masked. The international drop-off was masked, wasn't it? Who's not coming? Who do you think's not coming? Do the numbers tell us who's not coming?
Yeah, look, you sort of reiterated it before. I mean, it's China at the moment that still isn't coming back nearly as much. Of course, they're seeing weaker economic times in their own country. But as well as that, they have become more accustomed to doing domestic travel within China. And so, again, sort of more competition to get out and about. Interesting as well, though, if you look at the other side where we are seeing better numbers, the numbers from Australia in a pretty healthy environment, sort of at about 94% for the last month. And of course, we are still in those colder months in New Zealand. So often we're seeing a lot of people come through for skiing. So a lot of people going to Queenstown, not as many people across the rest of the country. However, it's the Americans that are really doing us well at the moment. We're seeing, numbers at or often quite above 100% of sort of pre-pandemic 2019 levels. So a lot of visitors coming in from overseas. And I think that's partly also because, of course, New Zealand's a small little nation at the bottom of the South Pacific. Airline connections are huge for us. And so the fact that you've got so many American airlines that are flying down to New Zealand, very encouraging. You're not seeing the same sort of numbers going out through to China yet. So definitely an improvement that we'll be looking for over the next year from the China and the rest of the sort of Southeast Asian market as well. Yeah,
there's a number of things that you've said there I want to unpack, and that's the American market. It is a lucrative market. We like the Americans to come here, and it's a surprise, isn't it? When someone like Trump is near office or getting to office, you see this mass sort of arrival into New Zealand, or certainly inquiries about New Zealand. The American airlines that are flying into New Zealand, is it just me, or have I noticed that heaps more American airlines now include New Zealand as a destination?
Yeah, no, you're totally right. There are a lot more that are flying here. And because of that, there's a lot more competition on prices, which is great for consumers because you do have more options. You've often got more times, you've got more destinations, and you've got often a cheaper price to choose from. That seems to be a wider play by a lot of the American airlines as well, that are not only looking at New Zealand, but also to a degree Australia, but also the Pacific. And you're seeing a lot more flights sort of going through those areas. So definitely encouraging. And I think as well, if you look at the numbers, there was a real spike, funnily enough, when we held the FIFA Women's World Cup in New Zealand. There was a big sort of push coming through from the US and similar, and people that were obviously sticking around. So it's encouraging to see those international events that have been supporting activity. But I think also the US market at the moment, the US economy is still in a strong enough space. They're still spending a lot of money. And so that's quite encouraging in terms of attracting people here to New Zealand.
What's our strategy like? Because depending on who you speak to, we've either got this really right or really wrong, and you can never spend enough money, trying to attract people to New Zealand. The best advertising is probably word of mouth. But Tourism New Zealand, are they in the market? Who are they targeting? Are they doing the right thing?
Oh, they're definitely in the market, and you sort of still get good recognition of New Zealand overseas, which is encouraging. Of course, the last couple of weeks there's been talk around the international tourist levy that's coming, or the increasing of that's coming through, and will that dampen demand? Given the sorts of sums that you see people pay to come to New Zealand, I don't think it's as catastrophic as some make it out to be. But I think as well, and an interesting conversation that we sort of have to have and are having as a country around tourism is, if you go back to 2019 when we, before the pandemic, there were actually a lot of questions being asked about, do we have the right level of tourism? Have we got over-tourism? Are we sort of, burning through our resources a bit too much, putting too much pressure on infrastructure? So I think there is still an ongoing conversation around what is sort of the right level of tourism, if you will. How do we attract some of those higher value people? How do we ensure that our infrastructure and sort of public resources are able to cope with all of these numbers of people? So there's a lot, I think, both looking out to the rest of the world of how we bring people in, but also how we make sure we've got the right structures here in New Zealand. Because, again, you sort of get to the point, and I worry we get to the point where we have such a huge focus on tourism that we actually don't protect our natural resources and our infrastructure and similar as much. So there's a delicate balance. You've got to get the economics right, but you've got to have the country on board as well.
Oh, I reckon you're right. I reckon that's bang on. And I wonder if we're 83% of pre-COVID levels, then we're almost about right. I know people will say, well, we need the money. But also, you don't want to give people a bad experience. You don't want to also make it so poor the experience that New Zealanders are also feeling it as well. Car parks and toilets and that sort of thing. I sensed for a little while there that we'd maxed out and we'd actually gone over a sort of a no return. We'd gone over this line where it actually wasn't a great experience for anyone.
Totally. And I think that's why as well, there's a lot of focus on getting tourism back to being, one of New Zealand's major exports, if not the number one export, where it was just before the pandemic. And I think that's still an aspiration we can go for, but it does have to come with the right sort of protections. And I think it's encouraging to see a lot of tourism companies that are thinking about this a lot more in terms of how they engage with the community, what sort of offerings they put out, because there has been an adjustment as well over time. People are often looking for, not only a high value experience, but also sort of a socially responsible experience as well. And so looking around at what supports are given to the local community, how sustainable some of those offerings are. If New Zealand is going to trade as we do on our clean green image, we've sort of got to back that up with action on the ground, because tourists are noticing, of course, they've got a lot more competition, they've got a lot more options that they can choose across the world. So we need to be walking that talk. And I think the tourism sector is very much doing it, but we've got to keep that in mind as we continue to try and get things back to where they were before COVID.
I wonder if we're in trouble as a nation because, climate change and flying, she's not pretty. And I wonder, because of where we're located in the world, at the bottom of the earth, you need to fly to get here, if it's not that cool to come to New Zealand because you're burning carbon.
Well, potentially, although, the numbers sort of speak for themselves in terms of how much people do want to. But that also, I think, highlights why, some of those technological advancements in the aviation sector are going to be so critical for New Zealand's sort of continued success on the tourism stage. You think about, some of those planes that are coming out now that are creating fewer emissions because they are much more efficient. The focus on sustainable aviation fuel in the industry, the thought of electric planes for sort of shorter hops and similar. That's all encouraging. But again, Air New Zealand has said that one of the reasons they had to drop one of their climate commitments was because there's just not that sort of access readily to sustainable aviation fuels. They want to put it in, they want to use it. It's not there, it's not available, it's not cost effective, it's not being supported within the wider region as much. So sort of unlock and do those things right, and you start to support a lot more of the industry being able to bring this forward and grow over the long term, rather than just having a short-term hit.
You're a good man, Brad. Where's your choice of holiday, New Zealand or overseas? What do you do?
Oh, if I can, I travel a lot domestically across New Zealand, so it's always great to see the local sites, but I'm not going to lie, having been to the US again last year for a quick trip, I don't mind popping across to sort of see how the world's largest economy is going every now and then.
Exactly. I thought you might say that. Hey, good on you, mate. Always appreciate your time. I really do. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Duncan Garner, live.
Yeah, it's a good question, though. What do you do for a holiday? And New Zealand's not great value, is it? New Zealand's expensive. It's bloody expensive. Dave said to me, Duncan, I think we should be charging tourists $200 to come here. What's an extra $200 when you're already spending $3,000 on a ticket to get here? Yeah, there'll be some that are turned off by it, but you go around the world, there's taxes everywhere. I don't disagree with you, Dave. I don't disagree at all. James says, as I said yesterday, I was in Rotorua for my birthday weekend. I went to the buried village on my actual birthday, and it was dead. About 4 sets of people there, all New Zealanders, no tourists. That's the issue. Isaac, do you take a break, mate? Do you go on holiday anywhere? Do you go anywhere? Do you take a break? I'll just grab your mic there, mate.
Hello.
Yeah,
no, I love a good break.
Yeah.
I have a family batch Kaiteri Ways, top of the South Island.
Beautiful.
Beautiful place.
You're a lucky boy.
I know, very, very lucky, and that's a very special place to me.
Really
and
is.
that place is always packed full of tourists.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? You get lots of European tourists over there.
Yes, yeah, heaps of people. We're slightly around the bay from Kaiteri, and so we're in a lovely, quiet place. It's beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Okay, who goes holidaying somewhere in winter? Lots of people go away in winter. Everyone goes away in winter. They're trying to get some sun, aren't they?
Duncan Garner, live.
Okay, good morning to you. 0800 863 293 is the number.
3 questions from the Editor-in-Chief. 1.
And number 1 today, what's going on with gun control in New Zealand? What the hell's going on? Former gun lobbyist Nicole McKee has used her power as a government minister to reduce regulation for gun clubs without any public consultation. Officials are rightly concerned, say the changes have been processed under a short time frame and without consultation with the public, or even to test whether it's safe or not, the implications of safety. Before it becomes law, the change removes certain requirements for gun clubs and it's been pushed through so quickly that no one's been able to test whether it compromises public safety. Who's in charge? Where's Chris Luxon? Did he know this was happening? Did he know what was going on? Freeze it, hold it, slow it down. That's what we've got to do.
2.
And number 2 today, can Blackball residents still drink at their local pub? It's a huge question. It was looking okay. Then the owners of the Blackball Inn decided that they're going to sell. But then they couldn't sell it, and it faced closing up for good. So where would the 400 locals drink? The sellers couldn't bear the thought of the town not having a pub. So what they did was, this is a legendary pub as well, it's been thrown this lifeline now, the owners decided to rent it out instead of closing its doors for good. They couldn't sell it, so they're renting it. Jane Wells and Pat Kennedy still plan to retire from their life behind the bar on September the 19th, but they promised the Blackball Inn and the 08 Cafe will live on. Instead of selling, they're renting it to a former employee. So the pub will remain open. You can breathe a sigh of relief in Blackball. You can still drink. Okay, I know it's important to you. Are teenagers resilient enough? Are our teenagers resilient enough? Finally, someone in the know has called it. Auckland Grammar Principal Tim O'Connor says he's sick of the word. It's meaningless and too often it's used to hide behind when turning up. And actually doing the work is what's needed. You've got to turn up and do the work. I'll have more on this right now.
Duncan Garner, live.
Okay, so Tim O'Connor. Tim O'Connor is the principal of Auckland Grammar, and as I just mentioned, he's made some comments around resilience. And I'll ask you this question before I get into my slam dunk, but who thinks our teenagers are resilient enough right now? And who thinks the word resilience a moron word anyway, and it's been overused? I think it's been overused. Absolutely overused. This is my view. So Tim O'Connor has made these comments, right? Tim O'Connor has made these comments. And I say clap him, good on him. Finally someone's called it. Someone has said it. And it's likely to be met with sort of mixed reaction, I would have thought. But Tim O'Connor, the headmaster of top Auckland school, Auckland Grammar, has said he's sick of the word resilient and our teenagers just need to harden up or toughen up and turn up and do the bloody work, he says. Now, this is in response to a school, Hagley High School in Christchurch, giving their students the option of working from home for up to 20 hours a week. So basically, they don't need to come to school for half the week. They go home, stay home, and what they'll do there is they'll do their classes via the internet. It's like video classes. O'Connor has scoffed at the idea and says part of learning is actually the exercise and being present and learning from that. There's a couple of young guys running this show here, not much older than 20. They turn up every morning. They're present. They're motivated. They have a good attitude. Being there and on time and organised is a mission in itself for some young Kiwis. But that's what life requires. And I'm with Tim O'Connor on this. Yes, it's old-fashioned, but guess what? Life's sort of based on old-fashioned values, isn't it? Turning up actually matters. So teachers can see your work. That's what they're saying now. And it's about standards. That's what Tim O'Connor's saying. It's about being on time. O'Connor says the buzzword resilience has become a cliche and students need to be taught to toughen up. And that meant turning up, not working from home for half the week. Imagine if students get half the week to turn up from home. They'll be at home, all right? In his view, students need to show up to class 5 days a week, turning up at the right place at the right time, being professional and learning how to socialise with peers with life lessons everyone need to learn, he says. If anxious students stay at home all the time rather than being given the tools to cope, our nation's in for a sad future, he said. This is what he said about resilience. How's this? I'm over resilience. I think resilience is now a cliche, and we actually need to be teaching them to be less fragile, says Tim O'Connor from Auckland Grammar. It does seem to me that society that we're living in today is readily accepting of every wellbeing measure possible. Why don't we just go back to the basics and say, hey, no, you need to be present. You need to be doing these things. These things aren't up for negotiation. You just need to be at the right place at the right time. O'Connor says learning the routine of showing up was important in itself. And I don't think you can replace the face-to-face contact, says O'Connor. Good on him for saying this. Good on Tim for actually standing for something and for speaking out. He will buck the trend. He won't always be popular with other teachers and other headmasters, but he's saying it. And I say good on him. Well done. Maybe we are hiding behind the word resilience too much. Maybe we are hiding behind mental health too much. Maybe life's just about getting on and doing it. I'm with Tim O'Connor.
Duncan Garner, live.
Okay, Celebrity Treasure Island it's kicked off. We're on it. I'm on it. I'm in Wairangi Koopu's team. He's our captain. He's our man. And it all went to air last night. I'd actually pre-seen it, so I actually didn't endure the pain of having to watch it again. I don't know about Wairangi, but he's with me now. Kia ora, bro. Nice to see you, mate.
Morning, Dunc. Morning, brother.
Did you did you do yourself the pain of watching it again, or are you all good?
Yeah, I thought I'd rewatch it again. I don't think I really paid attention the first time. You were more a little bit anxious to see how it will all come together. Obviously, sort of the memory started flowing back to those sort of early days out in Te Whanganui, hey. But yeah, I thought I'd rewatch it again. I think it was actually better the second time I watched it.
I'm going to do it now. I'll go home and watch it after this. But I didn't do it because I was so nervous. The first time when I was sitting in the audience, there were a few people there, and I was really nervous watching it. How are we going to be pitched? How will we come across? Is that how we actually? Is that what we look like? Is that what we said? And they've got a whole season of this ahead. Are we going to be painted as the good guy, the bad guy? That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah, and I think the good thing for me watching it the second time around was, I had some like my family around me, and so I was able to sort of just fill them in a little bit on the back bits, like, oh, they edited this bit out, or this it didn't quite happen like that, but it's pretty close, like without giving away, I suppose, the magic and the glamour of TV. Like it was good to sit with my family and be like, I actually got one of those balls over there down that.
I reckon they did a pretty good job at so far. What I've seen, it's a pretty good resemblance. Tamati cheated; he got caught out.
And honestly, because clearly we saw it play out before our eyes. Now, I didn't realize the extent of how far he went to prove his innocence, or try to prove his innocence. Obviously, you know me now, Dunc. I'm a pretty competitive person. I'm pretty level-headed, but I witnessed that day one, before our eyes. I witnessed that act, and straight away I was like, no, this can't happen. So, obviously I was pretty vocal in that first episode about him cheating.
Yeah, no, and good on you too, because I hadn't. In that moment, I hadn't seen the cheating. I just heard, I was just part of that group that we were accusing him of cheating. But I hadn't realised how much he'd turned the sort of the machine to fit in his favour. What a cheating bastard! I didn't realise it was that bad. And then when he got back to his camp, he's lying about it to his whole team.
That's your opportunity, right, Duncan? You don't lie to your own team. You just take it on the chin. Look, I know Tamati is a good person. Yes, he's a former politician, but anything, I suppose it's good gamemanship from him to try and get away with that day one.
I must admit, I haven't said this publicly yet. I thought about doing the same thing, but they were like, I'd actually thought about just nudging it, as because I did a lot of the running back and forth to pick the sacks up, and I thought about it, but I looked across, and how many cameras were there? 10 cameras. There's almost a camera on each of us at all times. So
it's pretty much going on.
Yeah. So I thought that was probably the silly part. He must have known that was. He didn't even do it like a nudge. It wasn't even a nudge, was it? Hey, how did you? How was the reaction then? Did you get much reaction last night from your family and friends?
I got a lot of messages in group chats from all my cousins and family down in the East Coast.
Yes.
Saying that obviously I've got to do the Iwi proud. Surely a coastie wins this because we are hunter-gatherers. If I don't win, then I'm out. I'm ousted from the tribe. The reception was pretty good. I think sort of people sort of know who I am. Like, I'm competitive, but I also, while I love the entertainment factor of the episode one, because all the actors, all the comedians gave great like comedic grabs. I'm one of those people that knows if I talk shit, it's probably going to come back to haunt me
Yeah.
at some stage. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
I try and keep myself quiet and let my actions do all the speaking.
It's amazing, isn't it? I mean, obviously, I feel like I knew you before we got down there. Our kids were at the same school and that sort of thing together. So, hey, bro. But it's not until you're put in the same cabin for quite a few nights, if you're there for extended time or not, you're there, for at least 2 nights, to start with. So you get to know people in close quarters with not much food, and you can find out people's personalities pretty quickly, can't you? You're a great guy. You're a great leader, and I feel really close to everyone in our team. I still feel really close. There's something special, I think.
Yeah, indeed. And when I initially saw the group that we had, and I suppose I pretty much knew the entire team bar Spanky, Vinny, and I didn't really know Carmel. I knew of Carmel, but I didn't really know Carmel. The rest one, pretty much everybody else I had a personal relationship with, and yourself included. But I did think, and I'll be honest now, when I first saw the team and I saw your name on the list, I thought to myself, he could be the only one who maybe is a little bit out of his depth and annoying in that situation.
Wow.
Because even though I sort of knew you on a personal level, and we obviously, your son is a phenomenon of mine. He's a nephew of mine. So I did know you, but I didn't really know you in that how you would be in that scenario,
yes.
Group scenario. I suppose with Carmel there, you're a big personality, my friend. You're a big personality, and so I wasn't too sure, and it was the most pleasant surprise to me. People ask me who surprised you the most out there, and I did say Duncan Garner. I said, man, I thought I knew him. I thought I knew him before we went, and I did not know him at all. He really, really surprised me. So yeah, it was interesting, and I mean, obviously, same as you, I loved our team right from the get go. We bonded really well. Right, yeah, good characters, good people. I really enjoyed it from the get-go.
There's a bit that I've written about actually, because you won't see it on the program because it just wasn't filmed. It was the middle of the night basically. We all very early on, we talked about our lives to each other because there's no power, so you're pitch black. Everything's got to be rationed, right? So including sleep. So here we are talking about our lives to each other, and you don't really know these people, and the way that we all opened up, I still get goosebumps. It's one of the most incredible moments of my life.
Yeah, indeed. Obviously nothing to do. No concept of time really.
No.
Once it goes dark, it goes dark. And so, that just happened so organically, and it was one of those moments that you go, this is sort of what my ancestors did. When the sun went down and once their bellies were, partially full, they sat around and they wānanga, or they talked and they discussed things, and you got to know people on a different, on another level, but you also, I suppose, got to learn off each other. Everyone has their story, and like I say, as much as you know somebody, you don't really know somebody until you're in that situation. You start talking about, your traumas or your past relationships, or just things start flowing out of you, and it was amazing. That part of things was amazing. It's
a pretty buzzy social experiment, bro, isn't it? I mean, I appreciate your time this morning. Well, I know you're a busy man, but I'll let you go. But I mean, it was one hell of an exercise, and I'm just pleased that I've come away with friendships, and I include you, right at the top there, bro. So I appreciate you, mate, and thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Dunc. Thanks, brother.
Kia ora, mate. Good to see you. Wairangi Koopu. Our captain on our team on Celebrity Treasure Island. Great guy, amazing guy, big time leader, and man, we were lucky. We were lucky to have Wai. That is us, folks. Just a bit of feedback coming in here. Duncan's CTI. See, there's interest in this. You came across great, Duncan. Thank you. I haven't watched yet. I'll watch on TVNZ Plus after work. Dave, what does Dave say?
Dave gave us $2.
Dave gave us $2.
He says, act party of the worst people. I don't know.
What about them changing the gun laws without any consultation? Just change the gun laws. It's just weird. Anyway, Moana says CTI. Are you a pussycat, Duncan? And how about below the belt banter from Carmel, Tamati and Dunc? Bubba reference Susanna's runt of the litter. And you got iwi pressure as well, why don't you? The bromance is cute, says Dave. He's a good fella. Great guy.
I watched the episode yesterday.
Oh, you did? Oh, hello, Forrester.
Yeah, morning.
Hey, welcome.
It was Tamati Coffee that cheated, right?
Cheating bastard.
Whoa.
He did.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
I didn't realise at the time, because I'm only seeing it, I mean, if I didn't see it on the day, then I haven't seen it. So I knew he cheated because we were all accusing him of it, but I didn't realise he'd moved this thing so much in his favour. He's not a bad guy.
I thought it was quite funny having so many politicians in there.
Well, I put the bootness in you can't trust an ex-politician.
Yeah, no, I heard
he goes,
that.
Well, how's your TV show going, mate? I was like, oh, that's a nasty hit. But do I get him back? Is there more to come on this? I think it's great. So we'll do, I mean, tell us if you don't want this on the show, but I think we should, every now and then catch up with some of the contestants.
Yeah, I'll be watching.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of fun. Hey, have we got good access, right? Because I was there. I'm there. And that's nice of what he said about me too. What a good guy. Okay, I think we should probably move on. That is us. Thank you for tuning in to Duncan Garner, Editor-in-Chief, live with Esther's Oil, the premium New Zealand-made fish oil supplement backed by a very good study. Support joint, heart and brain health. Use the code Duncan for 10% off. Abouthealth.co.nz. Take us direct to read the label. About Health Auckland. You can call them right now. 0800 999 309. I use some of the stuff actually on the island. The fish oil, it's so good, and it sorts out other issues that you might have. This is a good balancer, sorts it out. There's people by the phone right now. If you call, use my name, get 10% off. That's us. This will be available as a podcast on Rover shortly, and wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for your feedback and your support. I'm Duncan at rover.nz. Send me your thoughts to my team. Isaac, Forrester, Zarina, thank you guys. Brilliant. And this is about young people tuning up. That's what Tim McConaughey's talking about. Motivation, attitude. If you have something good in that area, then you're probably likely to get the job. We'll do this again tomorrow. Remember, life's no dress rehearsal. This is it. We live in one of the best places on earth. There's no curtain raiser. You're in the big game. You're on the big time. Have a great day, folks. Take care.
That was Duncan Garner, Editor-in-Chief Live. Missed something on the live stream? Text Duncan to 3598 to listen back on the podcast. Want to get in touch? Call 0800 863 293.